we're actually going to discuss about Loom, which is a kind of a $975 million company. It was actually acquired for around $975 million, and it's like the UX for this Loom is very good. So if you're a founder or if you're any kind of corporate person, which generally you are, you absolutely know what exactly Loom is, and it's like recording stuff. You could just record meetings and product demos, and you just drop the link, and you can track who is actually viewing it, etc., etc. So Loom is pretty good, but you have to understand. So during the pandemic, its valuation was around for $1.5 billion. So you can just make a gas line of $1 billion as the average valuation. So acquisition valuation was like around 975, so around $1 billion. UX is a majority of the reason why it's actually valued that much. Seriously, UX is that important. So its category is video messaging for work. Okay, the main concept is that Loom is a screen and video recording tool built for async communication, and that is it. It enables users to record this and that, and majorly is to explain ideas clearly, quickly, and visually. So screen recording as a whole. Additionally, how you can just drop the link, etc. It instantly gets uploaded. You can just drop the link and you can even track it rather than just uploading a video to certain platform. You can just host it somewhere else. That was the USP. That was the USP. So it's kind of a YouTube unlisted. So you upload videos on YouTube and put it unlisted. It's kind of that for business people. So it's kind of the LinkedIn for, like, LinkedIn is for social media for business people. Loom is for kind of like that. So why essentially was Loom required? And Loom's use case is pretty good. It's like internal team updates, demos, and sales walkthroughs. It really skyrocketed when it was used by a sales guy a lot. And why was essentially Loom required, and what exactly the problems it solves, so we can really understand what essentially how it actually made UX its big powerhouse and how UX was so relevant for the case. Okay, so text is too slow and confusing, which is a problem. Video is faster and more personal, which is what Loom fixes, even in business world and meetings and sales, etc. Scheduling meetings waste time. Async videos save hours per week. So for business meetings and business conversations, you can just record a Loom and send it to the founder that he can probably take a look, or the assistant can take a look. It's good. Explaining visual topics is very hard. This is the game. So if you're on email, etc., and you want to explain some visual stuff. So if I'm talking to a potential client of mine, and he's like, how Arun can you improve the retention by 3 times? I need some visual stuff. I cannot just drop a super in-depth visual without actually explaining that. So Loom actually helps visual explanations a lot, and face recording process, etc. That's why it was very good on sales level when it was very new. And feedback loops are slow, so you can just it just makes the operation in a company and operation in any kind of business pretty faster, to be very honest. You drop the link, they provide some feedback, the managers, etc., they can just provide the feedback on what you have done, honestly. And this is like, it saves the time, it saves the tension of uh, like booking some conversations or having a coffee chat or something like that. The main UX workflow. So let's actually just now walk through the main core flow for the UX for the Loom. You may land to the landing page. We have two options. This is very important for the conversion over here for the signups. We have get Loom for free, which is very important, and we have install Chrome extension. The people who actually have installed multiple extensions and they use extensions, they know that how simple it is. You just install the extension just like loads, which is a big USP. The main Loom's basic is actually making the setup and the deployment of that stuff easier. So people can just record the video and send it to others, because you're essentially competing on a market where you record a video. You click on record and that it just records. So you have to make the overall experience that good and that simple. That actually is complementary and similar to what we're actually having as of now. Just like very important, easier, up and go. So you just get Loom for free, etc. Create the account, etc. You have multiple options. You can contact sale. You can get Loom for free, or you can install the Chrome extension, which if it makes sense, and the main CTA, etc. Stuff. And most of the times, many new people, they have been sent a Loom initially. if you're in the 2021, 2022 era, you would be sent to Loom and you would like, wow, what it is. It was a first of a kind, and you just sign up from that. And for that kind of people who would not really understand what essentially recording etc. stuff is, it was very important to have a very simple onboarding etc. and very simple usage. You install or you just install a Chrome extension or desktop app. There is fast setup. You just do it. You just record a video. Simple recording, simple UI toggle, screen, mic, camera, simple as that. You just have this one on over here, one on over here. It just starts, and there is a timer, which is very, very important. Very important, very good for UI. And there's a record, resume, pause, trash, finish. There's like retry. That's very, very good stuff. Retry, etc. And after you record, you have options to edit the UI, etc. You have options to. It's like auto upload begins. This is the big banger. Auto upload begins instantly. It's like so fast that while you're also recording the video, it just auto uploads essentially. So you're like, if the internet is fine, even if average, you just stop the recording and it's already uploaded, which is a big stuff, honestly. And analytics etc. is available, and every time video is like if you just record a video, you can just see that it's 1.2x. So that's very good on the USP of saving time. It's very good stuff, that actually breaks the ice, breaks the friction. And what are the main pros and cons? So let's discuss about the pros, because this is the main game changer. You have to understand from that perspective of the flow. What Loom did was it made the overall usage initially faster. It understand what essentially their ideal user base was. They actually took a lot of funding. I guess around 200 to 250 million dollars. They invested a lot on influencer marketing, if it is, or probably there's business guys. They're just explaining what Loom is, etc. Just people receiving Loom, so they had to make the overall initiation usage very, very easier, so people can really understand what essentially Loom is. So after that, everything they have to understand is that there's a limit for 25 videos. If you have to go past that, you have to get the paid. As simple as that. Nothing more complex, nothing more thoughts, nothing more conditions, etc. Simple as that. They just made the usage initially so simple that all you have to worry about is the number of videos. That's it. Plus some extra analytics. That is a very good UX. It's like a funnel. You just get the users in, and then you just make the users on the go. Now again, I'll be actually discussing the retention graphs for that, which has a lot of potential, to be honest, still. But yeah, let's just stick with this. So now we discuss the UX pros. One-click experience, fast setups, smart defaults. Defaults are pretty good, so it's like pretty optimum. Whatever you want to do as a newbie, the defaults are done. So you just record that video. I'm really saying that this is the big stuff. Setup is so quick. Every single second, every single millisecond counts in these kind of industries, in these kind of SaaS products, essentially. Clean UI copy. Every single option is self-explanatory. Simple words: record, pause, resume, etc. Simple words. Nothing super complicated. Nothing super fancy words. No waiting. Upload starts right. This is big stuff. Humanized user experience. Camera bubble adds warmth. Small text, this and that. I still remember the first time I was sent to Loom or something like that. I don't really know the particular time, but I still know. I saw the chances of actually adding the emojis. It was brilliant. I saw that video can be hosted somewhere. This is like a new YouTube, essentially. That was the game for newbies at the time. How new guy would actually kind of interpret Loom. Plus, there was this time stuff. So like, you saved this much amount of time, and there would be these CTAs. Here's something. There's this people clapping for you. So these kind of CTA, this kind of text really humanizes the overall approach. The only improvement that they gotta do is actually this exact line that I said. Here's something, people clapping for you, when there is literally nothing. That is a big contradiction, which I'm absolutely sure anyone read that, anyone understood that. That was a negative influence, to be honest. That's if they could actually improve that. It would be very relevant. Just adding a Paytm kind of stuff. You do the transaction, is like green color that comes or something like that. Just probably adding a visual that actually acts as a sound stuff. Something changes. Some entropy changes. Post recording flow, fast streaming, etc. Analytics, etc. Dog fooding on onboarding. You got a Loom explaining a Loom. on the initiation, and this is very important. So you get a Loom for most of the time. Understand what essentially Loom is. Probably someone giving a demo or someone just sending you a Loom. Honestly, mobile view is pretty good as well. It's responsive. The main UX cons is essentially is that most of the advanced controls are limited for the free version. Now, there's a reason pros outweigh the cons a lot of times, to be honest, because they focused on the USP, which was just quick video recording that are uploaded and can be tracked. As simple as that for official terms, for official corporate stuff. They didn't really focus on a lot of different things. Most of the analytics, advanced stuff, etc., is under after the paid, because you understand that okay, unlimited video is one of the options, but there should be some another advantage of getting the paid as well. So that is what it does, and browser extension may feel basic to some users. This is very important. If any kind of SaaS or app product actually lacks the level of home feeling or level of community feeling, level of kingdom feeling, that's the kingdom. There is a capital to kingdom. There is some home. There is some base. I can live in that without any kind of leakage. There is a fencing to that. Breathable fencing though. Unless and until any kind of user feels that, leakage would be high, and that is why Loom still has a lot of retention issues, because extension etc feels a lot basic. It's not like a big product or something like that. Lag can happen on poor networks. This is important. So it consumes a lot of net. This is a big game for the countries and etc places where Wi-Fi is not generally very average or very prominent, to be honest. A lot of majority of the world actually uses mobile network, so this is very important. Another example that I just got essentially was YouTube actually saves a lot of net because it's for the world. Loom is essentially, this is the game, this is the contradiction for this third cons. Loom is essentially for the corporate people who would generally have Wi-Fi honestly, so that may be a part, but analytics etc, premium plat etc, but the pros actually generally outweigh the cons, apart from that this lack of kingdom feeling, lack of home feeling. The main scorecard: clarity 505, speed pretty fast, delight lacks playful micro interactions. Why exactly I would have said that? I told you this one. I told you that that CTA copy stuff, that some of the approaches is actually a little bit lack of humanization. Just saying that heard the clapping. People think about hearing that clapping, but there is no clapping. So that's a negative dissonance, and there's a problem. And mobile user experience is very good, but not that much dynamic, not that on an app level. It's not an app essentially. It's generally on the mobile. And onboarding is pretty good. Personalization is a little bit defaulty because of not having a home feeling, not having a product feeling, not having a fence. People can just leak out. And smart UX patterns to seal. This is for you guys generally. So auto action default. Whatever the main action would be, essentially there's link copying after the video finishes, etc. It reduces frictions. You can use that even for financial stuff. You can just probably save the cards. You can probably save the settings or something like that. Any kind of such actions, whatever is the biggest leverage of friction. So you have to reduce the friction essentially for the usage of the app. So that is essentially when you segment any kind of product from onboarding, from main usage, etc., and then you just understand what essentially is the fundamental figures, and fundamental maths, fundamental mathematics, fundamental terms for that essentially segmentation. So it's like for onboarding, sign up, heat mapping stuff, activation rate, a lot of different components, and how to actually make it better. So it's like KPI improvement. And for that, you essentially build the systems. You essentially would understand what essentially is causing a lot of friction, honestly, and that you just remove that. For someone to actually send the videos, they had to copy the link, which was something that was auto. Pretty good. Async onboarding. So the intro video is Silu. This is a big game. Literally on the web main page as well. The intro video is literally Loom. Big stuff. That's good. Okay. If you have just that kind of product, if you have an app website, so if you have a website explaining that you have an app, that kind of app information website, you can just have an app layout on the border. that feels like it's using the app, or you could just probably on one time you can just have an animation of an app that actually explains what essentially app is or something like that. That is very important. So this is a big change. You can use it in Yotam as well. And automation, auto upload, etc. Thumbnail preview, it's pretty good. Animated embedded thumbnails, you can even embed Loom thumbnails on Gmail, etc. And that's another point. It's just like integrations are pretty good. So there would be another point, but integrations, they have a lot of integrations, etc. And you can analyze how many people essentially viewed and what was this and that, etc. You can also put notes in a time frame, which is essentially every single feature is complementary to what essentially they want to fix. They want to make communication quicker and much more, like, this is entire world where you can just communicate without a meeting scheduled. Honestly, there's a big space, and they just every single component helps with that. And retention and conversion insights. So Loom's freemium model sees the typical drop off after 1 to 3 videos, even if as of now they have around 25 as the maximum limit or whatever, generally that much limit, which is a big retention drop, honestly. But yeah, I mean, like, still the retention is not that bad. It can go up to 2 to 3 videos. Most of the times, essentially, is that people don't really find a use case to use the Loom, and the leakage is high. People don't really know they have signed up for Loom. They just forget about it, which is a big problem. Essentially, every single thing, instant upload, auto share link, etc., usage based notification, etc., generally drives the retention. But again, most of the times you'll just share the Loom to 1 2 people, so you just get probably 1 or 2 notifications, and after that it's just like, okay, if the use never comes, you just forget that. And no star metric is actually number of videos recorded in the first 7 days. More the number of videos anyone would have recorded on Loom, generally retention would be higher, because they kind of really understand the workflow. There is no friction for usage for them. It is like they are using the Loom, etc. And conversion, user receive feedback on replies on videos, and it's just like they can get the sales, etc., done on that. And team usage triggers viral loops, and there's a lot of team usage essentially. So that's the stuff, and that can really convert for Loom itself. Now, funnel snapshots. So 1,000 signups might be 100 records, which is a big point. So people are signing up and people are recording. It's like an 80% activation rate for that. That's good. That's good after the overall signups. That's very good, and that's how easier it is. This is how highly. This is the reason. This is the reason. This is the consequence of making the UI so easy. 60 finished record video. You have to understand that video recording with the camera on is a very, like, tension kind of stuff. It's like a stressing stuff. So most people would just cut off. But even if after that also they still have a very good 70-80% finishing rate of the recording, and 300 people share the Loom, etc. And sharing actually adds multiple options where to share. So for anyone who is trying out, that is actually leaking out the shares over here, because most people who are trying, they would not really want to share, honestly, in the initial game. And 80 return later, which is still fine, to be honest. But after return, if they just use it consistently, that is a big stuff. Now, must have UX features for you guys. One click to record if you have any kind of stuff, any kind of that kind of SaaS or any kind of stuff. One record to audio record, one record to the kind of record, auto copy, shareable link, etc. These are some of the features that you really have to understand if you're building any kind of similar UX. Micro analytics, editing tool, basic editing tools are very important, very very important. And UX mistakes to avoid is that actually too many steps before user sees value. This is a big stuff. Avoid multiple steps. Complex dashboard or upfront, avoid it. Probably just. So what I'm actually going to explain you as now is actually a secret. Split your dashboard. Split your dashboard. Make something for the later, cake for the later, dessert for the later, and something for now. Even during the onboarding. That's a big KJ stuff. If you understood that, okay, fine. If you didn't understand that, still fine. But like, that's the secret that I have. Onboarding users with stats or feature plots. Just simple. Why should they actually download? Why should they actually sign up? And yeah, that's essentially is. And the audiences, SaaS founders, product teams, and UX strategies, etc. And yeah, that's essentially the part. And yeah, so the SOP, and yeah, so majorly what essentially features you should have is one click to record any kind of audio record, etc. Whatever you're building as a similar UX, one click, easier usage, auto copy, whatever the main friction would be, remove that. Async onboarding, just make it faster, to be honest. And basic editing tools, etc. Micro analytics. So it's more majorly like you have main core usage, and you have to understand what essentially the main user would want to have, and that is the main requirement. You just put over there. People does something they want to analyze, they want to edit that human, natural human stuff, and you just add that. And UX mistakes that you should avoid is that too many steps before user sees value, complex dashboard, etc. And having like a lot of features, etc. Generally, really, you know really avoid that. But that's the game, generally. And yeah, I mean, like, the audience is SaaS founders, product team, etc. Loom is pretty good, essentially. If I just say Loom is pretty good, but there's a lot of improvements that it can have, it could do. But generally, if you have any kind of extension based stuff or any kind of stuff, this is very helpful, very helpful, that you have to understand, very helpful. Okay. And yeah, I mean, like, if you want to actually have a free UX audit for your product, app, or SaaS, just drop a message or something, and